Hello, this is Roger Shouse, and this is Jumpstart Rewind. This is part of our Heaven Bound podcast family. Jumpstart number 2974, first written December 1st, 2021. Proverbs 21, verse 16, a man who wanders from the way of understanding will rest in the assembly of the dead. Our passage today describes a journey that a person took. Somewhere along the way, he took the wrong turn. He ended up in the assembly of the dead. Most would not choose that as a destination point. The end wasn't as good as the beginning for this person. Constructed within our passage is the explanation. It tells us why this person ended up among the dead. He wandered away from the way of understanding. That's how it happens. Most don't lose their faith by a big blowout. Usually it's a slow, gradual leak that's just left there until that person's heart is no longer strong. We see the end result. We see the person who declares that he no longer believes. We see the person who drops off and drops out. But way upstream, his faith was leaking out. He was losing faith. Few people noticed it back then. Less interest in spiritual matters, bored with worship, hanging out with the wrong people, a Bible that's rarely touched, prayers that are flat, lifeless, and going nowhere. Oh, there were signs all along the way, and this person saw it first. He didn't leap from the truth. He wondered. He became more attracted to the world than to God. He noticed, but he didn't do anything about it. He noticed, but he allowed himself to continue on that path away from God. He noticed, but he simply didn't care. And what our verse describes is the heartache of many parents and the very thing that keeps shepherds awake at night. How can we reach those earlier? How can we instill an interest within a person so that they will reach out for help? How can we prevent one from walking away from the Lord? If we had the answers to these questions, we could sell a lot of books. And often we beat ourselves up thinking we missed something or we failed somewhere somehow because the person drifted away. We conclude that better sermons, better classes, better contact would have kept the one from wandering away. It's somehow our fault, and if we could fix that, then the one would never drift away again. But we know better than that. We know that because some left the best, Jesus Christ. John 6 tells us that some walked away from the Lord and walked with him no more. In the parable of the lost sheep, the shepherd is God. The little flock of 100 sheep had the best shepherd they could ever have, yet still one wandered off. Here are some things for us to remember. First, each person must take ownership of their own faith. And when one doesn't do that, then drifting, wandering, and departing will happen. It always happens. There are some who don't think much about their faith, even when sitting in a church building. There are some who only want to follow Jesus at a distance. Too close is just too close for them. Keep Jesus in sight, but keep the distance. And when one doesn't take ownership of their faith, anything and everything is likely to happen. Second, as a congregation, core lessons about discipleship need to be repeated and looked at closely. In order to take ownership, one must come to terms with responsibilities in his walk with the Lord. There is nothing like this journey with the Lord. When the weekend comes, you leave work at work. You don't think about it until you have to. When on vacation, you unplug, you chill out, you think about nothing important. Our walk with Jesus is not like that at all. Every day, everywhere, our minds are on the Lord. Every word, every choice, every attitude reflects that journey with the Lord. When at work, we must think about the Lord would have us to do. When on vacation, we think what the Lord would have us to do. At home, in the store, on the battlefield, on the ball field, it never turns off. Never. Nothing else is like this. Unless one is taught and shown this, they will do typically what comes to mind, which is leaving their faith in a church building. So at work, they act like everyone else. On vacation, like everyone else. It's not until they're back in the church building that they think about Jesus. Such a person is one who will drift and will wonder. Third, every departure ought to open our eyes to the world we live in. It's always easier to wander than to be committed. It's easier to drift than to stay faithful and true. It's easier to go with the flow than to swim upstream in a downstream world. Departures will happen. It saddens a congregation, but onward we must continue to march. Weariness, discouragement, and difficulties are enough to cause one to let go of the rope that we hold to Jesus. And without that rope, we will drift and wander away. There are reasons why some wander away. Some never fully understood what was involved. Some were baptized but never really made disciples. All of this ought to make us look within ourselves and ask us some heartfelt questions. If the wandering soul joins the assembly of the dead, what is the opposite of that? The soul that stays on the path, the soul that remains committed, is going to be found in the assembly of the living. They are found surrounding the throne of God in heaven. That distracted driver is a real danger on the road. The distracted believer is a real danger to his own soul and those he influences. Keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. That's not only good advice for the road, but it's amazing advice for a spiritual journey with Jesus. Thank you so much for listening.